Thank you. We will now call to order the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you all for attending the regular meeting of the board. I would like to remind you that school board meetings in Nebraska are meetings held in public, not public meetings. During the public comment section, the public may address the board on agenda items and other miscellaneous topics. All right, Sheila, can we get roll call?
Present.
Present. Joanne Langley.
Present.
Emily Garrett.
Present.
Present.
And our mission statement. North Platte Public Schools is a destination school district and community that embraces innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, instilling the canteen spirit in an evolving world. The canteen spirit embodies generosity, selflessness, and unwavering support through service, pride, collaboration, and grit. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is posted here in the boardroom. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the publication of the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to approve the publication for the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Sheila, roll call.
Angela Blazey.
Aye.
Joanne Langley. Aye. Emily Garrett.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Skip Austin.
Aye.
At this time, I would now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
I move to approve the agenda for the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Roll call, Sheila.
Joanne Langley.
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Skip Austin.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, at this time, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will kick off our evening with our communications portion of the night. So our first item in this section is a special presentation to recognize the November Bulldogs of the month. Do we have, oh, there we go. Mr. Butler, thank you.
All right, thank you. So obviously, Mr. Spatansky couldn't make it tonight, so I have the honor to acknowledge and introduce our November Bulldogs of the Month. These two individuals embody what it is to have the canteen spirit, and they are what make North Platte High School proud and what it is. I've got to know both these students from their freshman years through either the classroom or on the soccer field, and it's been nice to see them grow and become the people who they are today. They're great students, but they're even better people. And so at this point, I'd like to introduce Colton Altig and Emily Allen.
Hi, I just want to start with saying thank you for the opportunity to be presented this award. Tonight, I am joined by my mom and stepdad, Katie and Mitch Pacheco, and my dad's stepmom and brother, Chris, Jamie, and Reed Allen. Over the last 3 years, almost 3.5, we're almost there. I have participated in soccer, journalism, and Key Club, as well as holding an academic letter over that period of time. When we first got our little note cards or whatever to what to say, what questions to answer, it wants us to find or talk about our favorite experience at the high school, and there was a lot I could have chose, and I couldn't choose just one thing. So I would say that my favorite experience would just be being able to support my classmates through their sports and activities, or teammates on the field and off the field, along with meeting new peers and teachers. After high school, I plan to attend Mid-Plains Community College and study to become a rad tech. And after that, I'll work in and around the North Platte area. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm Colton Altig, and I'm joined here by my parents, Sarah and Brandon Altig. I have participated in a lot throughout my high school career. I've tried a lot of things, played a lot of sports. I've been in NHS. I've wrestled. I've played soccer. I did football. And during the summer, I've done some competitive bass fishing, which has been fun. I've been in HAL and I've won NCPA academic football all-state. And my favorite high school experience has to be the sports. It's fun. You make a lot of new friends, get a lot of connections. Great way to compete and overcome some adversity. It's always fun. And then my plans after graduation, I want to go attend UNK, and I'm hopefully get into K-hop and pursue becoming a PA.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will make both of you come up here front and center and take a picture with the board.
Thank you.
We'll post it on there. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and up next we have a student spotlight for this evening. So we do have a second grader from Cody, his teacher, Mrs. Reed. And we have, who else is joining us tonight? And Mrs. Allen.
I'm just gonna go ahead and get us started and kind of introduce
Perfect.
what he's here for.
Thank you.
So I had received an email about the opportunity for like the Name a Snowplow competition. And so I sent it over to all the teachers. Mrs. Reed had her class participate. And obviously we have John Sobleski here, a little winner. So I'll let Mrs. Reed kind of give some details about the competition and then John can tell you about his idea.
Okay, so every year, the Nebraska Department of Transportation has a contest that lets students across the state pick names for a snowplow. There are 16 winners in the whole state of Nebraska. We had 1,400 submissions in the state of Nebraska. And they picked John from our district here. And so it was super exciting because I made it a big class project, pulled the kids all up. We did the whole writing process of brainstorming. I showed them the Nebraska Department of Transportation website. We showed past winners and their pictures and their snowplows, and you can go online and track the snowplows and everything. And John, I got an email that he won. And so I filmed his reaction and then sent it to his parents right away. And we got all sorts of prizes. And so I'll let John kind of take it over now. And John, tell him how you came up with the name.
I came up with the name. I started with the Mission Impossible movie, and then I thought of like snow, and then I put snow for the impossible part, and I thought of Mission Snow Possible.
So then when you found out that you won, how did you feel?
Really excited.
Yeah. And so were our classmates really supportive of you?
Yeah.
So what did they do when they came to our school? So the Department of Transportation came to our school and they reached out to the principal and I and said, how would you like to do this? Would you like to have a whole assembly? Do you just want it more private with our class? And I thought it would be great to incorporate the kindergarteners and first graders and both second grade class to make him, you know, kind of the big dog of the school. And so how was that experience when they came and did that whole presentation?
And maybe tell them what you got to do
Yes.
at the presentation.
It was really exciting.
Tell them what we did.
So, we signed the blade, and then after that I got on the news.
And did you get to go inside the truck?
Yeah, I went inside the truck and I saw how the whole thing worked, and I got to I put up the bed of it.
And he had to use all the tools and
Yep.
everything. We got a class sign and we got a class snowplow, and John and his family also received one as well. From my understanding, he is the first from North Platte Public Schools to win this. There have been others from the surrounding towns that have participated.
But it really is neat because there's only 16 winners total. And like out of the state of Nebraska, there was 4,500 submissions. So that's really a cool opportunity.
We met the snowplow driver.
Yep.
And they brought us popcorn. We had a whole class party with it. And you can go onto their website and track his snowplow. And if you didn't do that, I actually did over the Thanksgiving break and I found it. So that was really cool. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Department of Transportation for allowing this project to happen. The kids really loved it, and it made learning more meaningful especially when you're talking about community helpers. So what was your favorite part?
It was getting inside the truck.
Did you get to blow the horn?
I got to honk the horn also.
That was gonna be my question for you, is if it had a horn. That's what I would want to do too, is honk the horn. Was it loud?
Yeah.
Good, that's probably a good thing.
And he's just so deserving. He's so smart and creative. And I was very glad and honored that he got picked. So.
Good job.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right, good job.
Good job. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now welcome Terry Burchell with the foundation to come give us our foundation report and staff recognitions.
Thank you. Good evening. The foundation has officially launched our year-end giving campaign. As we look towards second semester, we anticipate needing additional funds for Prepared to Learn and potentially the Homework Club, two programs that we see high student participation in and want to continue. Last month, we heard from Sodexo regarding some school lunches and how they were, this isn't the norm. They maybe weren't paid up like they should be. And we know many families kind of feeling the squeeze this year. So we're incredibly grateful to a few amazing donors, actually two families, who stepped forward to help those balances. And the foundation would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Laura and Bill Trzynski, and especially to Top Tier MMA and Boxing, Brad and Emily Garrick, who are also one of our valued foundation business partners. Their generosity made an immediate and meaningful difference for families across our district, so we appreciate that. Our REACH grants last month supported several creative and impactful projects across the district. At the high school, funding was awarded to I just lost her name, Mrs. Foster, for youth science incentives for students. The incentives are supported with the partnership through our student clubs. So everything from cookies to small products by our student entrepreneurs who are now taking orders. So we thought that was a great way to incorporate and give back to those students as well. At Jefferson, Miss Boyle received funding for a new sensory table for her students. And Lake Elementary was awarded support for One Book, One School project that they will do this year. Last night, we had the privilege of celebrating the new refurbished 1968 Baldwin Grand Piano during Mrs. Purdy's concert. A wonderful video was shared and made by a senior at the high school, Maddie Hildebrand, through Bulldog Productions. So if you haven't seen it, go out to our Facebook page or our YouTube page. and check that out. She did a great job of capturing the story from beginning to end of how it happened. So tonight, we're also pleased to spotlight a few outstanding employees. Those employees in the room, when your name is called, please stand and remain standing until all 4 of you have been recognized. Then all 4 of you will need to come forward for a photo with the board, much like the students. So if I could have Dr. Eshelman and Ms. Fleck come forward to talk about their amazing staff at Jefferson and at Lake.
Was the clothing planned?
Cookies, no pod. We should have been merry and bright, but we're not. Yeah. So we have the privilege of having a designated month throughout the year to recognize our staff, and we submit a couple of different names. And this time, Missy Palacios was chosen as our certified staff. And when I think of Missy, one of the things that she does is she always steps into different roles for the school. She is kind of the spearhead of our Veterans Day program. And this year we had over 250 people come. We had community members reach out afterwards. So that's a huge undertaking by her and her mom, but also a small committee at the school. And we'll have the privilege of going and laying those wreaths this Saturday. Missy also is one of those that spearheaded the Trout in the Classroom, and that has expanded out to Lincoln and Eisenhower schools. She's always up for new games, and her partner are phenomenal. So we are privileged and honored to have Missy at our school. And then our certified staff is Brenda McClellan, and Brenda has been at Jefferson for a long time. And one of the things that school days can be really long, and Brenda also helps with Kids Club after school and in the summer as well. And so Brenda is always up for helping in our IE groups at lunch and throughout the day. And so she's just one of those people we can always rely on, and we're so fortunate to have her at Jefferson.
Okay, and then my certified staff member is Missy Hopping. She is our 4th grade teacher this year. She really works hard to keep her students engaged and exciting in learning. She's very creative. She creates a classroom where learning can be fun and very hands-on. Missy is also incredible. She's a team player. She is on our guiding coalition team, and she's always willing to help push data. We can always go to her. Being the facilitator in our district for so long, she's very knowledgeable, so we can go to her, and she's very, very knowledgeable with that. So we are blessed to have her as part of our Lake family, and I am incredibly blessed to have her and so thankful that she's there. So I am also blessed to have Heather. I stole her from Jefferson. She came along to Lake with me, and she is our secretary, and she has gone above and beyond in joining our team. She started fresh in this role. She's put on lots of hats. You know, she has to play the nurse sometimes. She's the secretary sometimes, all the things. And so with all those hats, she supports staff, students, myself in countless ways. And I'm just super blessed to have her on our team as Lake as well. So those are the team Lake. So. You do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Oh, it's empty.
See,
I know, I was gonna make an announcement that they would be okay to leave, and they didn't need me.
They don't care. They're out.
Well, all right. Much quieter room now. Okay, we will move on to public comment at this time. Our public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with a date, topic addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. Sheila, do we have any?
I have one.
Okay. When called upon by the presiding officer, the individuals shall proceed to the table, state their name and address. An individual may not exceed 5 minutes, and total time for all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board approves extending the allocated time. This time for public comment shall not be used to address specific individual student discipline or employee performance issues. Complaint and grievance processes are in place to deal with issues of this nature.
Good evening. President Garrick, members of the board, Dr. Rhodes. I'm Kinsey Mullen, and I have the honor of being the president of the North Platte Education Association. I am here tonight to talk on behalf of the members of the North Platte Education Association regarding the 2026-2027 school calendar. At the November meeting, you referred to the survey that we conducted and indicated interest in hearing directly from the educators who will be living and working within this calendar. Tonight, I'm here to share these results and elevate the voices of teachers who serve our students every day. We asked our members a simple but important question. How satisfied are you with the current school year calendar? The question included specifically its start date, breaks, and end date. We use a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not satisfied and 5 being satisfied and 5 being very satisfied. According to this scale, 97% of respondents indicated dissatisfaction, I can't talk tonight, sorry, with the current structure. Their comments highlighted the strain they are experiencing. Teachers are burning out. They need breaks just like students. Education is tough and exhausting. Teachers deserve a break just as students do. Extended breaks around holidays to give staff time off and time to travel. Kids and teachers need a break. In response to this consistent feedback, the NPA executive team collaborated in November with Dr. Rhodes, Mr. Mills, and Dr. McDonald to provide input for this calendar. Prior to that meeting, we consulted with school-level teacher leaders to ensure that we were accurately reflecting the experiences and needs of educators across the district. And based on the member input, NPA respectfully presents the following recommendations for the calendar. First, designate March 29th as a non-student and non-staff day to support family time and travel around the Easter holiday. And 2, move parent-teacher conferences from February 25th to avoid 2 consecutive 3-day weeks. Those are never fun in school. These recommendations are not only responsive to educator feedback, but they directly align with the district's strategic plan. Strategy 1, we will increase the academic success of students and the efficacy of staff. Academic calendars that support PLCs to guarantee a focus on learning for students is an academic calendar where teachers are well supported and engaged with high levels of resilience and motivation and low levels of stress and fatigue. Strategy 2 states, we will maximize current staff skills and expertise while being resourceful and innovative in recruiting new staff. To maximize retention of high quality personnel, one way to explore flexible work arrangements that support staff well-being and work-life balance is to implement a schedule that reduces teacher burnout. To become a destination school district, our best recruiters are the educators who are already working here. Therefore, on behalf of NPA, I ask you to consider incorporating the following into the 2026-2027 school calendar. Scheduled March 29th as a day off for teachers and students and move parent-teacher conferences. In closing, motivational speaker Simon Sinek reminds us, leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of the people in your charge. As a district committed to embracing innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, it is essential that we uplift and support the educators who make these opportunities possible. Thank you for your time, for your collaboration, and for your thoughtful consideration of these recommendations. We look forward to continuing our partnership in support of the educators who serve our students in the North Platte Public Schools every day.
Thank you.
Kinsey, will you be staying for the duration of the meeting?
Yes, I will.
Okay, because we can't engage on this topic right now, but it is an agenda item on our agenda.
Okay.
So that would be an appropriate time for discussion if we were to have further questions
Yes.
or something from you. Okay, thank you. Okay, is that our only one, Sheila?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, on to our consent agenda. I will start with entertaining a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion to present. Yeah, whatever. As presented. Consent agenda as presented, sorry.
Second.
Okay, a consent agenda, also known by Robert's Rules of Order as a consent calendar, groups routine meeting discussion points into a single agenda item. In so doing, the grouped items can be approved in one action rather than through the filing of multiple motions. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. A quick note on the documentation of these, all board members should have received a new folder link from Mr. Mills with this year's resignation letters. So if you did not see that, let him know after the meeting and we'll make sure you have access to that. On this consent agenda, item 9.1 is to approve the minutes of the November 10th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education. 9.2, accept the resignation of Amanda Gilmore effective on December 31st, 2025. 9.3, approve the resignation of Dan Cromie on or about May 14th, 2026. 9.4, approve the resignation of Denise DiGiovanni on or about May 14th, 2026. And 9.5, approve the resignation of Pam Tillman on or about May 14th, 2026. And the last one, 9.6, approval of financial claims and reports, which were looked at this month by Joanne and Cindy.
No,
Do you have a?
Cindy and Angela.
Oh, we are wrong. Yeah, that's right. Cindy and Angela. Sorry, my notes are wrong on here. Do you have questions or a recommendation on the claims this month?
Then accept them.
I accepted too.
Okay. Okay, any questions or discussion on any of these items? All right, Sheila, roll call, please. Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. On to our reports and discussion items. The first one that we have tonight is a staffing update with Mr. Mills. If you'll join us, Mr. Mills.
Good evening. Fairly short staffing update this month. As you just saw on the consent agenda, three retirees this year, so we're in a good place there, and only one resignation so far. The other piece, we were asked by NDE, the apprentice program, to make a video. So Brandon Peterson, our communications director, and I went out and talked to a couple of our teachers, Ms. Humphreys and McNeil, who were our two first graduates. And with the magic of Mr. Peterson, he put together that video. Hopefully you've had a chance to view that. If you haven't, I can send it to you. Very exciting to be asked as a district to present that type of information. We have a great relationship with them, very collaborative. That will continue to probably be viewed across the state, because then we had another person reach out to us, David Jefferson, to look at more videos. So it's something that's oncoming and more to come from that. So if I see more of that, I'll make sure I share it with the board. But we're very honored to be a part of the apprenticeship program. On Thursday this week, I'll meet with 25 to 30 possible prospective future teachers, as we're having our first meeting with Midlands University for the 3 to Teach program, which is, it pretty well explains if the program is funded. Right now it's not completely funded, but we're waiting on funding. Those individuals that get selected would go to Midlands and get their 3 years of teaching and be ready to teach for us with that amount of time. So we're excited about that. We'll have another meeting the following week if I miss anybody at that time. And I'm also inviting Midlands to that through a Zoom link so that she can be there as well. We have 15 seats that we've asked for in that program. So we divided that up through the cabinet. So we asked for five ELL, 5 early childhood, and 5 special education. So we want 15 seats if it is funding. Then we'll begin to select those candidates after we show them information, see who's interested, then it'll go back to principals and then to the cabinet to start looking at these individuals. But we're very excited about it because we have some graduating seniors that are just coming out of high school, and that's really how we really want to propose that track and start to build that. So currently we're setting up interviews for those that apply for any of our open positions. I've set up a science interview, ELL, and elementary, and we'll continue to set those up as they come up, as we know the holidays are coming upon us. So we're really anxious to look at that recruiting coming up this spring. Any questions for me? That's all I have for you tonight.
Remind me when that date is where we need to know if they're quitting or retiring.
Oh, for the year?
Yeah.
We do ours, it has to be done by April 15th is the deadline, but we do ours March 31st.
Oh, okay.
No. Good question.
Retirement though is December, isn't it?
December 1st for the sick leave incentive. Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Are we seeing any greater needs for EL teachers, or is there any particular teaching group that maybe there's a higher need than others?
I hate to tell you, Joanne, but they're all high need now. Applications are there's just not many applications for any level at this point. I mean, elementary is where we're really trying to hire right now, and very, very few applications. So yeah, they're all high need right now. Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, happy holidays to everybody.
All right, for our monthly financial and budget report, we'll turn this over to Dr. McDonald.
Thank you. Let's see what. Now you have a hard copy in front of you of the overall district budget as far as the general fund is concerned, so we can kind of go over that. I think it'll pop up here soon. Sheila and technology again. So again, as you can see on our receipts for the month of, of November, where we brought in $826,436.25. Our expenditures were $4,537,837,837,830. And then if you go clear to the right, you'll notice where our payroll ended up for $2,051,707.73. And payables were $2,486,122.37. And then you can see the month averages to date below those two columns between payroll and payables at this particular point in time. If you go back to the left, you can see exactly what our total receipts were so far from September, October, and November, what those average receipts are, and then what our current cash on hand with the district is. We are at negative $3,079,884.43. Keep in mind, though, that when we utilize our interfund loans, we're still able to sustain our general fund as we're waiting for receipts, the bigger receipts to come in. Typically that's we've seen some in December. January is typically a bigger receipt month. And then when you get closer towards summer, that kind of April, May, and then potentially June time period, depending on when those receipts come in. So that's currently where we're at on cash on hand, even though our cash on hand is and indicates that if you go to kind of the middle there and there's a percentage sign of the budget, and for November, we're 2.721% under budget currently for this school year. So that's a good sign. We just need our receipts to catch up right now. So, and then of course at the bottom you have your cash flow chart, and you can see the difference between the start and where we are right now between receipts, and obviously expenditures always seem to level out for the year. So the next slide is our cash flow. Okay. Our cash flow report, again, starts with the general. Typically I don't have the general, but I wanted to show you that and how that works and ebbs and flows with the interfund loan there. So you can see where we started with our general, with our beginning cash, what the revenues were, the expenditures, and again, where the ending cash balance was. The depreciation, again, where we started, revenues, expenditures, employee benefit, the activity fund, school lunch fund, bond, special building, qualified capital purpose undertaking fund, and then your cooperative funds. So you can see that the beginning cash was roughly $6,071,167 there of all funds, revenues of all funds, expenditures. So at the end of the day, with all funds considering, we're sitting with $2,992,495.97 currently towards for the district. So that's your cash flow report. The next slide is, I believe, that's just the bank reconciliation so that you can see that all funds match the cash flow in the general fund. Can you go to the next one, maybe? Scroll down. Is there one more there? If I didn't include it, I gave it to the board. So what I gave you here is, again, an overview of the general fund, exactly what you had previously, but this is just a scenario so you can kind of see the month of December. And what I put in there is receipts at about, last year they were roughly $5.2 million as an estimate and some change. So I put in 4.8 million for receipts for December. Expenditures have roughly been around 4.4 to 4.5 million. And if you take all of that into consideration, it would show you that the cash on hand is still a negative $2,779,884.43. But if you notice that on the cash flow report, we had $2,971,000. So with interfund loans, this would depict that for the next, for December moving into January, we would still be okay as far as the line of credit. What I want to share with you is I pulled the general fund revenue from last year to give you an idea of how the revenues came in for the month of December. So you can kind of understand the line of credit that we'll be talking about in the proposal and the resolution later in the board meeting. But property taxes for last December were, there was a group that came in on 12/4 of 24 and then again on 12/31 of 24 for a total of $1,795,143.30. We also received motor vehicle taxes on 12/31 of 24 of roughly $587,298.79. We had some interest income come in on 12/31 of 24 of $941. And then we had some private grants from Kids Club that came in on December 18th of roughly $15,000. We had, we had county license fees and fines collection came in on December 31st of 2024 of $31,227,000. We also had state aid, and the state aid came in on two different times. So we had state aid that came in on 12/4 of 24 and then again on 12/31 of 24. Both amounts were $936,013 for a total of $1,872,026. So there were two state aid receipts that had come in, and then also we had special education reimbursement dollars came in on December 27th of 2024 of $614,161. So when you take all of those into consideration, the different receipts that come into the district that came in at various times throughout the month. We also had some grant reimbursement dollars for ESSA that came in December 17th of $561,360. And then we had some IDEA reimbursement come in on December 10th for $190,580. So that's where the 5.2 million and some change in receipts were last year at this particular point in time. Again, payroll and payables will be coming due before that time period. And so the line of credit may be a little bit more as we wait for some of these receipts to come in towards the end of the month. So I just wanted you to have that information as you contemplate where we are at and the receipts that will be coming in. We're still waiting on reimbursements from the state that we had requested those payments. We seek those quarterly. And so we're waiting on those. And I don't know when the property taxes will come in. And so I don't know if it will be by December 31st or if it will kick into the first week of January. You know, some of those types of things we just don't know at this particular point in time, and wait and see on that. So any questions that you would have on just the general fund and where we're currently at as a district?
So I had a question, just as we continuously talk about the budget, so that when we come into our budget discussions, usually in the summer, then we're prepared to have those conversations. And one of the things that we've talked often about is trying to get that cash reserve built back up. So you've talked about using the interfund loans pretty regularly. What are dangers of using those, or you know, could we ever get in a situation where we could be in a compromising situation because we're using interfund loans and then not able to pay, you know, back those funds within our own district? Or
Right. Well, so the interfund loans, they all have to be paid back when the receipts come in. They will just balance them out. So anything that you use from the interfund loans, they all go back into those accounts as your receipts come in through the course of the year. So the danger is obviously to not be able to pay those back, or if you don't receive the receipts that you're budgeting for, or if you go over budget, and then you don't have the ability. And what I mean by going over budget is if we're getting to a point in the year to where you can't come to the board and ask for amendment of those budgetary funds to compensate for, you know, what the payables would be on a month-to-month basis. You know, then we get into some situations. Well, number one, the auditor is probably going to come out here, and we don't want that. So we believe that you know, the budget that was passed and the funds we will receive will be able to generate and cover what our expenditures are and be able to pay those funds back as far as the interfund loans are concerned. So it's just a matter of the line of credit, the interest on the line of credit, you know, that you're paying to hold that line of credit. You know, those are additional expenses that you try to stay away from if at all possible. So
but probably another good reason to get our cash reserve built up.
Right, yeah. And some of those conversations, you know, if you take a look at some other like-sized districts, you know, they typically will have a cash balance at the beginning of the year to start the year that cover their average expenditures, and then plus they're getting the county treasurer balance on top of that. And so the county treasurer balance actually will cover those low receipt months like we're in right now. And then when you get a higher receipt month, and those continue to build. And so you try to maintain that average when you look at the present budget and future budgets. So and that's something we talked about and something that we're working towards. So
thank you.
Okay. The other sheet that I had in front of you was just enrollment. Again, those are just numbers. Now, again, I just want to preface this that the enrollment numbers that you have are all students. So that is pre-K, 6 pence, birth to 5, you know, part-time students, partial students. So those are total students that the district is currently seeing that's within our infinite campus. And so currently, this was December 3rd. I know we've enrolled other students since December 3rd. We're at 3,465, and that's kindergarten through 12. And currently Buffalo on December 3rd had 125 students. Sixpence was serving 21 students, and Bertha 5 was at 90. So for a grand total of 3,701 students. You can see our building capacity is roughly 5,016, and so we have some room within certain buildings, certain sites to continue to see those enrollments trends climb. So
I'm just excited to see that number go up. That is,
yeah, hopefully we can continue to see that.
yes, I hope that's a trend for sure. Okay. Any other questions for Dr. McDonald on that? Dr. McDonald, did you want to provide just an update for the whole board on where we're at with negotiations?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Meetings as
sorry.
well while we're on.
So yeah, we had our third meeting today. I thought that the negotiation process went well. Everybody, I thought it was very good discussion on both sides. So we are tentatively going to have a fourth meeting, and that is this coming Tuesday, the 17th. Is that right?
Sure.
17th?
16th.
16th at 4 o'clock. And so I think that we are getting close. So I've been very pleased with negotiations. So yeah, I appreciate everybody from both sides and the discussion that has taken place.
And if any of us look a little droopy, some of us have been here since 3 meetings, so just on that note. Okay. And then we will go ahead and move on. If there are no further questions about financial and budget reports, we will move on to our audit report for the 2024-2025 school year. And so, Dr. McDonald, I will just turn this right back over to you.
Thank you. I believe the full audit was on the Spark site for the agenda this evening. And then the slides were also on there as well. I did bring a hard copy. Ms. Garrick thought that the business management letter was not with the audit. That was referenced in there. Typically it is, it's a part of it. They just forgot to send it and it came late. And then I thought I included that and I didn't. So you all have a hard copy of that letter from Dana and Cole and Company. So I think that you have everything in regards to the audit. The audit itself went very well. They didn't have any, they didn't find anything significant within or any findings that were significant. They always have some recommendations within the audit, but the audit itself takes a look at all funds. So it's going to take a look at every fund the district has, and they go through and they check all of the balances. They will check the receipts and expenditures. They will check your reports that you get from the state, and they will check retirements. They will go through the gamut of everything. And if they find something or have some concerns, they will work with you on those. There are some corrections every year with the budget. Those corrections are basically on just the different codes and coding that you would have with some of your staffing as it relates to grants versus a general fund. Versus the activities, depreciation, those types of things. But a lot of the coding things with staff is more for the general fund in general, and what that means. And as some of those dollars ebb and flow through the course of the year and the reimbursements that you request, there's certain percentages that change. So they go through and they find that, and then they make those changes within the document. So then you get your annual financial report and obviously the audit that you have in front of you. So I don't know if I need to spend a lot of time on the presentation. Excuse me, I would, basically this is a 6-slide presentation. Dana and Cole provided the presentation, I believe, last year. And so what I did is I took the information that they had and then filled it in for the 24, so you can get a comparison between the end of 24 and then the end of 25. As far as the ending balances are concerned. So that's the first thing you see there is just your fund summary of the government and proprietary fund ending balances for the general bond, building, cooperative, qualified capital purpose undertaking activities in the school nutrition. And then it gives you a change between the 2 years between those fund and ending balances. The next slide is the summary of the general activities, qualified capital purpose undertaking, and other funds throughout the audit as far as the receipts. So you can see the property tax receipts there from 24 compared to 25. The motor vehicle and car line taxes, again, between the 2024 and 2025 years. The county sources, the state receipts, your federal receipts, and then other, which would be interest, grants, and local receipts, and then your activities is also included in there as well. So you can see the changes there. If you see the property tax, you say, oh my goodness, there's quite a discrepancy there. But then if you go down to the state receipts, there's quite a discrepancy there. So again, the school property tax credit, your school credit, your property tax credit, and your homestead exemption then fall under that state receipt line. And so that's why there's the discrepancy or the movement there between those two. So, but if you look at total revenues, we're within $2,952 within both of those years. The fourth slide is your summary of disbursements. And again, between the 2024 and 2025 year, instruction, federal and state programs, support staff and other support areas for the district, all of your general accounts, and then your administrative accounts there. You have debt services. Debt services would be your short-term interest, your bond interest payments, and capital lease payments as examples. Capital outlay and other would be like renovations, purchasing of equipment, purchasing of machinery. Those types of things would be fall under capital outlay and other. So again, you can see in 2024 disbursements were a little bit higher actually than the 2025. So. And then your last two slides is just summarizing findings and responses. And again, I thought that they worked well. We worked well with them. We gave them all the information they requested. Their summary of finding and responses again stated that the district management should possess the ability to prepare financial statements in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting. Management currently relies on the auditor to propose adjustments necessary to prepare the financial statements, including the related note disclosures. Management reviews such financial statements and approves all adjustments. We recommend that the district's management continue to review the auditor's adjustments and apply the analytical procedures to the draft financial statements as considered necessary. And the final slide of summary and finding and responses. They indicated that they encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management, performing and completing the audit. Management has corrected all misstatements. None of the misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures and corrected by management were material, either individually or in the aggregate, to the financial statements taken as a whole. So overall, a very good report from the audit moving forward. So I will say that the audit, this was the end of our 3-year agreement. And so we will be sending out some RFPs here in the next few weeks to see if we think maybe I will say this, there's less auditing firms that are taking on schools. They're actually dropping schools as far as school audits. So there's less and less, but I believe that we found 3 firms that I'm hoping that will give us a proposal moving forward in regards to the school audit to keep it competitive.
Do you know a reason for why they are dropping schools?
Well, I just think there's so much that they're having to do in such a short period of time. And, they're having to complete this before November 1st. If we're not completing this by, I believe it was November 4th this year, the state withholds funding to schools. And so the timeline is very short for them. And I don't think that they like the liability of that or taking on that responsibility if they're the ones at fault because they're taking on so many schools. But at the end of the day, if you don't have enough auditors doing it, there's gonna be more and more schools that others are gonna have to take on, so the time frame even becomes shorter for them, so. I don't know, it's a shortage, kind of like a teaching shortage, it's a shortage of auditing firms that are wanting to do this anymore, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions that? Reading the 75-page audit document that,
Is this the audit that a board member is questioned on?
excuse me, yeah, so
Yes, and it was it.
Joanne.
Joanne was chair.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions about the audit? Okay. Thank you. All right, at this time, we will welcome Mrs. Douglas and Mrs. Carlson to give us our AQuest presentation. So while they're coming up here, the Nebraska Department of Education publicly released the 2024-2025 AQuest classifications and the Nebraska Student-Centered Assessment Data or Assessment System results on November 26th, 2025. So they will present those ratings for us this evening.
Hey, good evening. So yes, tonight's presentation will be focused on our classification ratings and our state assessments results for the 24-25 academic year. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our AQuest classification results. I think it's important for us to understand basically what is behind AQuest and why we have it. There are two specific laws that govern Nebraska's AQuest accountability system. The Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, is the federal education law that sets requirements for the states and the local districts for accountability. And then through the Nebraska legislature, through the statute that is listed there, that outlines the statutory authority and requirements for a state accountability system. So our state. Okay, it's just delayed. So this is our state accountability system that falls under the regulations of both of those previous aforementioned laws. I know you guys have heard us talk about this, but this is our AQuest Nebraska accountability system. Within this accountability system, there are 3 domains, and within each domain, there are specific metrics that our state uses to classify schools. So we're going to talk just briefly on the next slide about what those classification metrics are. For this past school year, these were the classification metrics that our Nebraska Department of Ed used to give us our classification ratings. So as you can see, there's a lot that falls under state assessment, proficiency, overall proficiency. In other words, how students are performing on their assessments, how students are growing in that proficiency. Our ability to reduce our non-proficiency rate. So our goal is to always reduce students who are not proficient. We want that proficiency rate to increase. They also bring in science proficiency and participation rate. So the number of students who are participating in the accountability assessment compared to the number of assessments that are reported. They also include chronic absenteeism reduction, progress towards English language proficiency, and graduation rate, which obviously is only applicable to the high school. That's not a metric that can be used anywhere but the high school. We did want to make note that the Nebraska Department of Education, although they released our 25 results under these particular classification metrics, Nebraska Department of Education has developed new classification rating calculations that will be released and utilized for the 26-27 academic school year, upon which the Nebraska Department of Ed will give us an indication utilizing 25 end-of-year results within that new classification system. So it will give us an ability for us to have projections into the new classification calculations and how we might go about setting our goals then around our classification metrics for the 26-27 school year. So with that, all of these classification ratings can be located on the Nebraska Education Profile, which is a public website that you can visit. But overall, these are our classifications for the spring of 2025. as you can see, we are really super excited about these classification ratings because we have a number of schools that have improved from good to great. We have one school that is currently in excellent rating, and overall our district performed at a level 2, which is good. One of the things I think that is important to note, because we've had some people ask this question before, with all the number of schools that are actually in the great category and also receiving excellent, that outweighs, or the number of those are outweighing the number that are in the number 2 classification or good rating. And so then why therefore would our district not be at a great status at this point? Overall, in terms of proficiency, Lindsay is going to be sharing here in just a little bit our trends for overall proficiency rating. So what our trends are in terms of our collective body of students who are participating in accountability and what their proficiency rate is. So North Platte Public Schools as a whole performed at 54%. So when you take all of the students that were proficient, 54% of our students were proficient. In order for a district to reach the 3 classification rating, they would need to be at 60% or above. But you will see that we are trending that direction, which we're really super excited to talk about. So we're going to be giving you more information about that in a few minutes.
Can I ask you a question just
Yeah.
really quick?
Yeah.
So do you see, for example, the schools that are rated good or even great, can you see like how close they were maybe to the, you know, like, oh, we just barely missed it by
Yes. Yes. And so every building receives a classification report. And so then we spend time in administrative council giving them their individual report. So those classification metrics that we shared with you just a couple of slides ago, that will tell them where they are in terms of proficiency. And then that report also shares with them ways in which they can get maybe a bump in their score, which usually is around chronic absenteeism and EL proficiency. And so there are a number of ways that you can work towards improving your rating if you want to move from good to great. The biggest and most weighted category, though, is that overall proficiency of student achievement. And so they will be given their exact percent amount of students that were proficient, on track, or above.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next slide is probably the one that we're most excited about. I think one of the things that at both the district level and building level is we always want to go back and look at our trends, kind of where we started, where we began. So this chart from the bottom to the top is kind of what I would like you to pay attention to. So in the spring of 22, you can see that our buildings were pretty much spread out. We had a lot of buildings kind of equally divided out amongst each of the categories or classification ratings. And you can see that in the spring of 22, we had 3 schools that were in the needs support or the rating of 1. We use this as our baseline for goal setting when Dr. Rhodes came to the district and in the fall of 23. And so we took this as a cabinet in consideration of looking at where all of our schools were. And under his leadership and vision, we committed ourselves as a cabinet team that we really needed to invest in our building administration, our staff, and put systems in place where we were really investing in our people so that we could help move the needle in terms of student learning. So this trend data is very exciting, I think, because we can give shout out not only to the district level, but also the work that our building level principals are doing, the work that our staff are doing within the classrooms, and what's happening, and that we're all collectively moving in the same direction. And we all believe that in order to move the needle in our classification ratings, we need to invest in one another. And there's a lot of different things that we're going to talk about throughout the rest of the presentation that we believe has positively impact, because we want to see that trend. And you can see over the course of the past 2 years, we've had no school in the needs support category, and we are trending in the right direction there. The next slide just also then tells us about the designations. Not only do we have the classification metrics, but The Nebraska Department of Ed also shares with school districts any designations, and that is around our subgroup data. So we take a deep dive into our subgroup data, and so any school with a designation are continuing their implementation of their building level improvement plans. Grant funding is given to districts who may have a designation, and most of you know, as we have reported in the past, that we have received funding for specific subgroup designations. So our district and building level leadership, as well as our 3rd through 8th grade staff, have received specific training on inclusive practices. Those inclusive practices help all students, but are very targeted for the specific subgroups that have received designations in those schools. And then additionally, which has been very exciting this year and last year, is that through that funding, we were able to provide some very robust training for all of our K-8 paraeducators, also receiving developmental professional development in all-inclusive practices as well. So that will continue. We have some designations in some of our subgroups. We will be meeting with the Nebraska Department of Ed after the first of the year on how we can work towards exiting those designations.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our scores, specifically our NSCAS state assessment scores, which is what our 3rd through 8th graders take. This is a computer adaptive assessment that is designed to provide both students a chance to answer questions above or below their grade level to allow them to demonstrate where they are in their learning while also ensuring there are enough on grade level items for summative purposes. What's important to note is that no 2 students have the exact same assessment because the algorithm chooses the next item based on their students, based on the student's previous answer. That creates kind of a unique testing environment for each student. The NSCAS Science, the alternate assessment, the ACT, and ELPA 21 all are fixed forms, which means they are not adaptive. So each student has the exact same state assessment on those ones. So I just wanted you to understand the difference between those two. So this chart shows proficiency levels by grade. It is broken down by subject area. So you can look and see the math scores or the blue scores. These are 3rd grade. Blue would be math. And so it's broken down by, subject area and grade. ELA is in red and yellow is the science. So you can see generally our students are performing right now better in the areas of math and science than ELA in grades 3 through 8. This chart compares our overall math achievement, if you combine all grades 3 through 8, to the state math achievement level. What's important to note here is that we're maintaining our proficiency right along with the state, even though in 2024-25, that was the first year of our implementation of our new math resource. So sometimes we see an implementation dip with a new resource and we maintain that level. So that was pretty exciting there. This is the same graph, but comparing ELA scores. The positive in this is that from 21-22 to 24-25, we've grown about 10 percentage points. So that's really great growth. However, we've kind of leveled off, as you can see, the last couple of years, and the state has also done the same pattern there. So that is why there's such a big emphasis on literacy from both the state level and then for us as well. And the last slide is our science overall score. So you can see how we are compared to the state. We're trending right along with the state level in science.
The last section we're going to talk about is the state ACT assessment. As you all know, that is a college entrance exam that is used for accountability purposes. And so as you can see, regarding that our public school 3rd year high school cohort students participate in the ACT. They participate in reading, English, math, science, and writing each spring. The percentage of overall proficiency in meeting the standards is calculated based on the percentage of students who are on track and ACT benchmark. So obviously our goal as a district is to hit that on track mark and above. We are super excited about this slide because you can see that our trend data for proficiency levels are on the rise, which is super exciting. 1920, you might be asking, why is that blank? We did not take, that was COVID year. And so I was debating whether to put something there, but I couldn't get anything to fit nicely. And so we just decided to leave that column blank. But what I'd like you to pay attention to is just the rise of proficiency levels from year to year. Again, math is in blue, ELA is in red, and science is in yellow. And you can see at the junior level cohort, our ELA trends are increasing as well as our math trends, as well as our science trends. So we're very excited about that. We do believe that a lot of that is due to the investment in our high quality instructional materials that we have. We have professional development for staff, both with those materials and with the John Baylor test prep. As many of you hear us talk about from year to year, our professional learning communities. So a big shout out to our high school administrative team and also our staff at the high school, because they are investing a great deal of their time and effort to ensure that high quality instructional materials are implemented with fidelity, as well as supporting students with our ACT test prep. The next 3 slides just give you an idea about our comparison rate for the state ACT. So keep in mind, these are our proficiency levels. So you can see we are just, our trends again are looking really good as we are growing. We want to see that trend continue to go up. We are just slightly below the state proficiency level in terms of math. The next slide shows you the ELA ACT. This is a huge celebration because we also are trending clear back from 22-23, having 28% proficiency level. And this is our 3rd year of this upcoming year is our 3rd year of implementation with high quality instructional materials. And so I'm super excited about this because I'm a past ELA teacher and I'm so excited to see the huge jump and the gains that we're making in terms of these proficiency levels overall, actually in all 3 content areas. And then that 3rd slide shows you where we're at with our state ACT proficiency levels. And you can see again that we ended up above our state proficiency in the area of science. So the next slide, basically, again, as you know, we like to look at that trend composite. I think it's important to understand when you look at the Nebraska education profile, they're going to give you cohort proficiency with 3 subject areas, math, science, and ELA. They're also going to give you 1 composite score individually for each one of those 3 categories. So they're going to give you a comparison composite in math, 1 in ELA, and 1 in science. This is what National ACT provides our school districts. So this is something, again, worth celebrating. You can see where we began, again, that baseline in 22. And then you can see each of those columns as you move up each column, the trend of how we have increased each one of our composite scores within each of those domains to having an overall composite score of 18.3. Some may say 1.3 jump doesn't seem like that much, but actually it's a huge jump when it comes down to combining all of these scores. And so that is definitely something worth celebrating.
All right, so this is the slide that Vicki was referring to earlier. This is all grades 3 through 11 combined, and this is our overall proficiency rate. So you can see from 21-22 to 24-25, we have jumped 12 percentage points. So we're really proud of this growth. And then it's just been slow and steady growth the last few years. So really exciting data, and we're going to keep working hard because we do want to hit that 60% so we can be a great district. Dr. Rhodes did share some comparative data in the last week's weekly update. There are lots of lenses to look through when you look through all of this data. So one thing we do like to look at how we are doing comparatively to others, especially schools that are in our array. That really helps us provide context to how we're doing with the resources we have. But overall, our main focus really remains on ourselves, and we really want to just focus on us and how we are doing, and we're maintaining growth, and that's what we're really proud of. Some of the things that we kind of attribute this growth to is first of all, our hardworking staff. I mean, we see it every day. They're working really hard. They're practicing some really good instructional practices. So we're happy to see that. Our work with our professional learning communities has been pivotal in this work. It really helps us maintain consistency across the classrooms when we can have that collaborative culture. It helps us work on our strong instructional practices and share within our groups, data-driven decision-making, and also just really promoting a strong culture and collaboration. So we're really proud of that work. Also, our focus around high quality instructional materials, that's been a focus for quite a few years. And I do believe that that is helping us raise our scores and maintaining a level of rigor that we know is important for all of our students. I think just in closing, I would say, I think it goes back to our strategic plan and our goals around our strategic plan, focusing on academic achievement, focusing on the efficacy of our staff and retaining and recruiting high quality staff. And then lastly, working together with our families and community. All right, so this is, I hope, a good reflection of what we have going on in our school district. We have a lot of great things going, so thanks.
So I just have one question with the ACT scores. Do we, I mean, recognizing that there are a lot of students that still go straight into careers or the military or other things like that, are we seeing any increase in the number of kids who might be interested in going to college?
I mean, I think our graduation going rate may be improving a little bit, but I just think one of the celebrations about our district is that we are diverse and that we provide a lot of different opportunities because a four-year college isn't for everyone, right? And so I think what's worthy of celebrating is the programs and the systems that our high school has in place, what our counselors do for kids in matching them up with their aptitudes and where their interests are, be that a career and tech education path, military path, an associate's degree, or a four-year college. And so I think what they're doing up there in terms of advisement is resulting in improvement in our assessments and their care about their education, no matter what, direction they choose to go. So.
Good, thank you.
I really like the improvement that we've seen. That's really good. And you explained extremely well why that is happening. And that's great.
See the hard work.
Thank you, guys. It's nice to get good news.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, Mr. Peterson, you are up. We're going to welcome Mr. Peterson up to give us our 2024-2025 annual report in December. Yes.
All right, thanks for having me here this evening. And like you said, feels a little bit weird when you're given an annual report for the previous school year halfway through the next one. But we unfortunately have to do that just because that's when we get our state results and everything. So we just got those at Thanksgiving. So I'm pretty excited that we do get to give this report in December at this time frame. So we'll look back. Last year when we did this, you'll remember we did kind of a different format from this annual report than what was presented in the past. And so this will be similar. It's kind of a more of a streamlined look, but also is hopefully something that is kind of fun and engaging to look at also. So you'll notice up on our cover here, we have our destination NPPS from our strategic plan, since that was a big part of last school year. Wanted to kind of incorporate that in here with like kind of a postage package going to our destination NPPS on here. So at the very beginning of this, we have our message from Dr. Rhodes, the superintendent, and introducing to the great people of North Platte, the School Board of Education, and just letting them know what we've been up to this past school year. And then moving right over to the next section on here, because like I mentioned, last year, a big part was coming up with that strategic plan and coming up with our new mission and our strategies. We as a cabinet thought it was pretty important to include that information in here. So we do have our mission statement and the strategies, the three strategies that we'll be focusing on for the next 5 years. And also our beliefs that we have strong feelings for. And now we start looking at some of the data that is presented in here. So with enrollment, and this has our past 5-year trends, and it has by grade level and by building and our student demographics. A lot of data to go through for this. So Dr. McDonald, thank you very much for helping me find this information along with the budget items. It was super helpful for this. We also have special education information in here. So Mrs. Johnson, thanks for her help with finding that information, and also from the English learning program and all of that. So that information is all kind of sorted there into that category for this page. And then moving on, we have a bit of a hashtag spoiler alert from the previous presentation on here, but since it was good news, let's look at it again. So on here, we have our AQuest and state ACT information and our NPPS overall annual proficiency levels. And just with that and the emphasis on ACT, I thought it would be good with this one to put the picture of Mr. Spatansky's ACT pep rally celebration from last year in there. We also have our instructional hours in there with that as well. And thanks to Mrs. Carlson and Mrs. Douglas for helping me find all of that information to go through that for that page also. And here we have some information on staff. Thanks to Mr. Mills for helping with that information, talking about the great teachers and administrators and nurses and paras and everybody who put all the effort into giving our students a great education here. And thanks to Mrs. Linneman for some information on Kids Club that we have there. Mr. Spatansky had good information from our graduating class and students that had a 3.9 or a 4.0, and then also just with the dual credit opportunities that we have for students who can kind of work on that college education if that's part of their path, working on it while they're at North Platte High School. And then thanks to Mrs. Busher for information for our student services, showing all of the work that goes into supporting our community, making sure our students have what they need so they can come to school and be successful. And like I mentioned before, Dr. McDonald helped find information for finances. So we have that information there. Mrs. Birchall had some information for the foundation we were able to fit in here. And last but not least, communications down there at the end as well. So just with engagement and shout out to the families out there for the 91% who were actively using rooms last year. That's pretty amazing. And our website on there. And that is our annual report. Thanks for reminiscing with me about the last school year. And it's available on our website for there as long, or also with our previous annual reports too. So, any questions or anything?
No.
My microphone's not on. It's really good, Brandon. It's very eye appealing. A lot of quick data. Just really, I think it provides a really good snapshot of our district. And I love how everyone works together just on a daily basis. So, and it shows through this report. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the format, how
Thank you.
easy it is, and things jump right out at you. It's not like reading an audit. So,
No offense.
where you have number after number after number, but
We could send
they
them
jump
the-
right out at you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, up next, we will have our early graduation report with Dr. Rhodes. So this is according to policy 5066. He provides us with an early graduation report in the December meeting.
Yes, thank you. So if you remember, we actually amended this policy a few years ago on the reporting to the board at mid-year. So these numbers are pretty commiserate to what we've had the past few years. Cindy, I believe, asked a question in our exec team in comparison to last year. I thought actually it was a little more than what it was. So we had 48 early grads last December from the school year. And I think around 16 alternative ed kids that had met their requirements by the time we got to midterm. This year's report, currently the high school has 54 applicants for early graduation, and they have had 20 students complete alternative ed. Now, remember, one of the things that we do at the high school that we changed a few years ago is we also have an early graduation at the end of third quarter. We have that March early graduation. So Mr. Spadansky and his team are in the process. Will be in the process as they get to the end of January, February, on looking at potential applications for that March deadline. It hasn't been too long ago that we did have 85 early graduates. And I think some of that stemmed coming off of COVID. So we're kind of caught up with that at this point. So fairly commiserate numbers to what we've had in the past. And Mr. Spadansky and his leadership team does a great job with that. He's got a color coded spreadsheet for every student that has submitted an application, and then to make sure they've submitted the proper paperwork, that they've met with parents, they're meeting graduation requirements, and so he really goes through and checks that, particularly with his guidance counselors. So 54 early grads have applied, and we've had 20 alt ed students who have finished their requirements.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Rhodes?
Do we find out how many actually graduate early? Because I know that's the application, but sometimes that doesn't. The application doesn't go through.
I think we're in the high 90s as it relates, high 90% that make it all the way through at that point. You get to that, the last term before your senior year, or the first term of your senior year, and you pretty much met your graduation requirements. And there's some behavior requirements in there as well, and of course attendance and some of those things. So there probably is always one or two students that aren't going to get there, but I think for the most part it's a very, very high percentage. But I can find that number out.
Well, that might just be something helpful, like in January when we see our enrollment report, to know that decrease, to know how many of them were early graduations, if we have that number. Because I think that's where that question typically comes up, is we see a big drop, and then we always ask, how many of those were early graduation? So I think that would be helpful. So Dr. McDonald, here's your warning. We're going to ask that question next month.
Yeah.
All right, on to our school calendar discussion. So we're bringing back this discussion, and then we'll see the school calendar again here in a little bit as an action item. So Dr. Rhodes, we do have a couple of changes here since the last time we discussed this and provided that initial proposal. So would you walk us through what has changed at this point?
You bet. And Sheila looks like she has brought that up for us. So this is the third iteration of the 26-27 calendar. We always try and create a calendar in collaboration with different stakeholders. In this case, we met 2 different times with Mrs. Mulring and NPA officers to go over some of their requests. And then we spent 2 different work sessions with our advisory council group, our district administration, and our building administrators. And as you heard Mrs. Mulring, one of their requests was to have Monday after Easter break be a non-teaching, non-student day. That is in this calendar. And then we did move up those February conferences as well. But initially, some of the bigger changes, I think that in working with NPEA is we wanted to put a day in the fall and a day in winter that would be a non-student, non-contract day as well. Now, initially, which I think was the second draft of the calendar, we had a Monday that was a non-student, non-teaching day in October, and we had one in February. And then the Tuesday after those 2 Mondays, we followed that with professional development. One of the things that came to surface from working with our principals was really to have even days as it related to our terms. So first term, second term, third term, fourth term. So we actually moved the ending quarter to a Wednesday in both first and second semester. So what that allowed us to do was follow that Wednesday with a Thursday PD day, and then give all staff off on that Friday. So you can see that that's reflected in October. The end of the quarter would be the 14th. The 15th would be a PD day, and then the 16th would be a non-contract day. And then we did that same thing with March. The end of the quarter would be on March 10th, which is a Wednesday. And then Thursday would be a PD day, the 11th. And then the 12th would be a no contract day as well. We kept in the holiday on the 15th of February. So that would be a no student, no contract day. And really the concession, as we worked with NPA, if you remember, we had a day off on April 9th, I believe, or April 16th, excuse me, with the second draft. And NPA, and working with their teachers, really would rather have that Friday of or excuse me, the Monday of Easter break. So we moved that day out of April, and I think they brought up some good points. April is a testing month for us, big testing month for us. And also we have a lot of activities that take place in April as well, particularly at the secondary level. So we have track, we have baseball, you know, we have soccer, we have those different events that are pulling kids out of school. So really, I think April becomes, I think January and February, you know, it's kind of you're kind of in a marathon mode, and you get to April and it's kind of a sprint. And I think generally those spring months go relatively quickly. So I think we were able to meet most of the recommendations that we received from the NPEA. The thing we did not do is we did not change our start date and our end date. And that primarily is due to secondary and getting the same amount of days first semester and second semester, and still ending on that Christmas break. And I think most secondary people would tell you, you know, if you come back and have to finish a week in January to end your semester, you've got to get kids back, you've got to review for finals, and it makes it real difficult to finish that up. The other thing that we looked at a little bit in terms of the difference between days per semester, or even quarter for that matter, is you're running a 90-minute block schedule at the high school. So it may seem like 5 days difference, but actually it's about 10 days of instruction when you really think about that block schedule at the high school. So those were kind of the major changes that we had from draft number 2. Questions for me?
I appreciate the changes. I had reached out to quite a few teachers asking what they thought, and burnout's real. So it's really nice to have those days off in there.
I also think having parent-teacher conferences where they fall. This was something that we talked about in our executive team meeting, was that there's a few weeks in between conferences and the end of the quarter. Because I know especially at the high school, there can be some awkwardness when you have parent-teacher conferences within the first day or two or three of the new quarter. And so I think it makes it more meaningful for both the teachers and the parents to be able to sit down and have those conversations and maybe help their students make adjustments before the term ends. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was an important change with this calendar as well. And we did hear primarily from secondary. You know, I've got new kids coming in at the term, you know,
Okay, for
there
those
is no adjustments that
for
that a
those
parent-
9-week classes.
Yes.
Which would be in
Yeah.
the old system, a semester class. And then you're having it after the fact. So yeah, I think the compromise here, and I'll call it that because that's exactly what it was. The two sides coming together to create this, I think, is really, really good. And I'm glad that that was able to be worked out.
I think the other thing, you know, the principals brought this up, and I believe there were some teachers that commented on the survey, was particularly that Thursday afternoon, evening of parent-teacher conferences was not enough time. And we know that we have some larger elementary classrooms, just by nature of kind of teacher shortage and some of those things. So if you notice on here, that conference time did change from what was 4 to 8 to 1 to 8. And that was primarily listening to our elementary principals to make sure that our teachers had enough time to schedule those parent-teacher conferences with their parents at the elementary level. And just so we're clear, we really, we did not put in a dinner break on those Thursday evenings of parent-teacher conferences. But we made it quite clear to the principals that as a building, you need to figure out when you're going to give your break to your teachers. So we didn't say as a district, it's going to be 5 to 6, because that just, you know, we're not in those buildings to orchestrate and manage that. So the buildings will work with their teachers to develop a schedule that has the dinner break in there for them.
On those parent-teacher conferences, the second day, the 8 to 12, will teachers be released at noon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great questions. Any further discussion on that?
Kenzie, are we happy?
Yes, I think it went really well.
Thank you. Okay, excellent. If there is anything else that you think of, you'll have the opportunity to ask a question again before we take action on this calendar. So hold the thought and we'll come right back to it. Okay, our next discussion item here is to discuss the process and timeline of our upcoming board vacancy, which you'll see again as an action item. We do have one to accept approval or accept a resignation of board member Justin Thompson. So the reason for that resignation, I have gotten a lot of phone calls today asking about that. Nothing nefarious, but Mr. Thompson did move and he is now residing outside of his board. So by state statute, he would have to give that seat up. And so he did send his resignation letter to me. After that was made known that that was going to be happening. And so it is now our duty as a board to fill that vacancy in a timely manner. So you have received a couple of documents. I emailed one that had some just suggested questions and application procedures to board members to review. And then Dr. Rhodes has put together and attached here for us a board vacancy timeline. And so you will see there kind of what that timeline, what we're proposing that might look like. We've had a little bit of back and forth discussion on the best way to time all of this. So following action this evening, once that resignation is officially accepted, assuming so by the board tonight, then that resignation would become effective and our applications would be able to open tomorrow. So Dr. Rhodes already has our notice ready to go. We will get that advertised. And then the deadline that we're proposing we put on that would be January 2nd for all applications, letters of interest to be due to the superintendent's office. And essentially what that process would be is that somebody would write a letter of interest, submit that to the district, and then they would receive back to them essentially the applications and questions that would need to be completed by that January 2nd deadline. Those applications and questions would then be provided to the board by January 5th so that we could hold on the evening of January 8th a special meeting to interview those applicants and appoint a new board member. Initially, we had looked at just holding a special meeting prior to the January 12th meeting that same evening, like say at 4:30 or something along those lines. My concern with that was one, that is an uncomfortable process for those people that have to come be interviewed in public, and then to have a regular meeting afterwards could be a little bit uncomfortable for all parties. But two, the rest of us all have time to prepare for board meetings and kind of learn how things go and look into things on the agenda. And so I want to ensure that whoever that new person is coming in, at this point, they would at least have from January 8th, knowing they're coming on the board, until January 12th to be prepared, and not, 5 minutes notice of, oh, you're appointed, come to your first board meeting. So
4 days is enough. But I understand.
So are there any questions or comments about the timeline of this first? And then we can kind of dive in a little bit to what we want that process to look like. I want to make sure we're all on board for timeline.
It's fine.
Okay.
Looks good. Do we have an idea of like what time we'd be doing that special meeting?
I believe we do it at 5:30. Yep, here in the boardroom.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep, you got it. Okay, so then the document that was sent out to each of you was provided by NASB. They have some resources for if you have a board vacancy, different ways that you can handle that. And they have a very long list of questions that you can ask. I don't think we should ask all of those questions because that is, nobody's going to want to apply. So my proposal.
Well, there 33, weren't there?
Yes, a lot. And some of them were a little bit repetitive in
Correct.
nature. I think
Yeah.
they were giving you options of how you might phrase something. So what I would really like to just open up for discussion at this point, if you have any feelings one way or another, would be if there are any questions that board members feel pretty strongly about, or topics that we want to make sure that we address. And I'm just going to pull up real quick. As you tell me your questions, I'm going to kind of compile a bit of a list. And then I told Dr. Rhodes I would get that list to him ASAP, so that as we start getting letters of interest, Sheila has that handy and ready to go to provide to those.
Do you intend to give them the questions?
They would have the opportunity to answer the questions in writing prior to the meeting. We discussed this in our executive council meeting. Part of the thought process for that was, one, to allow board members a bit more time to review those applications rather than right there that night. But two, if you wait to ask questions, all of the questions in the meeting that night, whoever goes first has a pretty extreme disadvantage to answer them. And then, if you've got 5 people interviewing, whoever is at the end would have a bit of an advantage. So the thought would be to get some initial questions and
okay.
then interview that night still.
You wouldn't have them all in the same room.
Yeah, I actually checked with legal. And since it is it has to be done in an open meeting, you cannot eliminate anybody from sitting in that open meeting. Now, there could be the possibility that you bring everybody in and you say, if you're agreeable, you can be dismissed.
Because I was going to say, when I was appointed, we were not in there.
No, I specifically asked Bobby that, and he said, no, he said, you can't. He said, you shouldn't do it, but he said there's been a couple court cases that have been almost done in executive session that.
Well, I knew that was,
yeah.
but when I was appointed, there were 5 of us.
Yeah.
And there were 1 at a time, and the others were not in the room. And we did the same thing with Alicia Hoffman, then a couple years later. So, all right.
Yeah, so the thought.
I kind of like to see people get a question and have to think and then answer without being able. And my idea is you can, whatever questions you get, you can investigate them. That's fine. but also you can get coaching from other people, which to me isn't good. So that was what I thought when I read that. So, but if that would probably be a very good thing to do, I think, ask however many we have. With Alicia, there were 2, with me, there were 5. If they would be agreeable to that, if you guys, but, I'm still thinking, so.
Well, and with that in mind, so as we're thinking through questions on the initial application, if there are questions that you want to be sure to ask in person, I think it can be a mix of both. So I think that, maybe there's 5, 10 questions that we initially ask them to kind of have some information coming in, and then maybe those questions prompt some
Follow
follow-up.
up.
Yes, you indicated this on your application. Can you elaborate more on what you meant by that?
All right.
So I definitely still think there should be a pretty robust in-person interview. We just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure everyone had an equal chance.
I didn't want somebody sitting there just reading off his or her notes.
Yes.
At all.
Well, and yeah, if we ask it on paper and they answer it on paper, they don't need to answer it in front of us. That's where then.
Unless you want to follow up.
You would follow up with a different question.
Yeah, I sure would.
So then that's where you've got them on the spot instead of, but I mean, that way at least they kind of understand this is the way these questions are gonna look, and how are you answering this?
Yeah, when you said 10, I thought that was kind of long. I picked 11, but some of them are.
You could maybe combine. Yeah.
Yeah, because some of them were repetitive, but I thought, 5 or 6 and then to go that, because that's an awful lot to do. So, but I say, I didn't know that about, so they did that wrong. Yeah.
Or maybe.
Unless it's
different, maybe
changed.
things change over.
Yeah.
time.
And I think all the questions I had were came up. They weren't from the NASB, right?
We had selected questions before we asked them, but and we did that for things like.
Yeah.
So do most people know what ward they're in? Will you have to put something in the?
That picture map
Well-
would be a good idea to.
Or you check with the court.
Yeah, that's what I did. I went down to the courthouse and asked, I thought I was, but they have to approve it. Dr. Rhodes has to double check that too, to make sure that
Three
they are.
things that you have to do is, you have to board approve resignation. Now, it's effective on delivery of the letter, so you know. Now statutorily, there's a little bit of gray area when the start is out there. And I don't know what date he actually sent it to you, but you have 45 days to fill that seat. Now, with what we're doing here, I believe it's about 34 days, so we're fine with the 45 day. But if you're gonna go past that 45 day, the AG has simply said, you need a very good reason for doing that. I don't know, a blizzard, I suppose, I don't know, another nature, but, so you gotta approve that resignation. I'll need to contact the county if that opening exists, and then you need to make public notice. Now, within the public notice, you have to obviously put the word precinct. I don't know about a map and paper, quite honestly, because that can be fairly costly. But it'll be on our website.
I was gonna say, as long as it's on our
Yeah.
website, I think.
That's the other place that we'll get it out is on the website. And we'll have the application live on the website, and they can even print it. Or actually, Mr. Peterson, I talked about maybe even a fillable application that they can do online and just submit that via email or.
Well, and if we're referring them to the website to get that application and have that map right there.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that way we don't.
And we're sure that I read that they filled the remainder of the term, but we're sure that they don't have to. Cause at one time I thought that they had to run in whichever next election, even if it wasn't their cycle. So they would have to run in the election next year and then run again in 2 years.
I'll check with Becky.
Yeah, because that's what happened with me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just
Yeah,
know.
it's,
it-
when I read that, it talked about the next general election.
Yeah, so that
What's
would
appointed, you have to
probably
run
be
in the
something
next
that we
general
want to
election.
make sure that
So then we
whoever
can-
applies is aware of.
Same.
Yeah. but
So you'll have
be a
to
Yeah, so, yeah,
say that again, Skip.
One would be a two-term, one would be, 2 years.
Oh, so they'll appear separately on your
Ballot.
So if somebody were to file. So Justin's in my seat. So let's say somebody's running for my seat and Justin's old seat, new person is in there. Does somebody,
so.
Fire,
it
like, for the
shows-
2
yeah,
year and
it-
the 4
Yeah,
year?
cause that happened with Alicia, I think, that and it matters the order that you file too. As far as who gets the 1 or 2
Or the
year
2,
term and,
yeah.
yeah,
No, she didn't. I can tell you what happened with me. I got, I got appointed in 15, I had to run in 16. All right, then in 8, but Kathy Ferris was going off the board. So I filed for the 4-year seat instead of the 2-year seat. Ivan Mitchell filed for the 2-year seat.
so maybe there's
And
an
then
option.
then he ran again in 18 for the 4 years, and then in
Right.
20, I ran again because I could run for the 4 because it was open.
Yeah, I knew there was some sort of stipulation with the.
Yeah,
that
well,
too, so-
that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, but if I read that right, because I went through that a couple times, is that the next general election, that person has to run again,
So
But it
then
would
there's
be a
2
2-year,
seats available and.
or
okay,
whoever gets appointed.
Okay, but then
Unless
anybody
somebody
filing
comes off
to run,
And the time, and you want to run for the.
Yeah,
You
so.
have that
Interesting.
choice. If
So-
the incumbent isn't running.
okay,
So there just needs to be an awareness of whoever applies that's.
It'll happen.
That was
Right.
actually, I think, one of the questions I was asked was, if you get appointed to this, would you run next year in the
Right.
general election? That was one of the questions I was asked.
so they don't just automatically finish out that.
No, they do
existing
not
term.
finish out his
Okay.
3 years.
Okay. Interesting, okay.
And you can run all that by Bobby, just to make sure I'm right. Yeah. Becky would know too.
Clear as mud, okay. All right, wow, interesting. Okay, moving on from that, we'll work on figuring out those logistics. Do you have any thoughts specifically on questions that you would like to see ahead of time? I don't think at this point we should discuss questions that we want to do in the interview process, because then everybody is going to,
No,
yeah.
we
But
can just
we
give
should
you
have the
numbers.
application. Oh,
Numbers.
yeah, from the list that, did you
Yes.
pull them from that list? Sure, if you want to do that, then I can kind of
I had
consolidate.
1,
Okay,
7,
okay,
9, 12, 14 question mark, 16, 22, 25, 27, 31, and 33 question mark.
okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't be wise to say what they were, would it?
No, I mean, for the application ahead of time, not a big deal because it's gonna
Yeah.
be on our website anyways, but where we might divide some things.
I know I liked number 1 to be in one ahead of time,
Okay,
Agreed. It's
because
probably the
that's
best
an answer.
question.
Yeah, and that's an answer that it would be good to know, to have follow-up questions.
And that's probably why it is number 1, because I
Yeah,
thought it
right.
was the best question.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela, did you have any other questions you specifically wanted to hopefully see on that application or in-person interview?
Not really. I mean, I didn't know exactly how we were gonna do it, so I was just kind of looked through them and then I was like, oh, I really like that first one. So.
I will make note of that. Cindy, did you have any specific questions that you wanted to see on
Like
there?
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Okay.
I agree on 3.
Yeah, I like 3.
Okay.
Seems like there's another question that I'm not seeing right now. I might have to email you later this evening.
Okay. That
I
is
like
fine.
12.
12.
That was one skipped and too.
Okay.
And potentially 13.
Okay. Got it. So what I will do is I will compile these questions, and if there are similar questions and kind of some crossover, I'll kind of consolidate
Did you
some
have any
things.
that?
I did, but I wrote my questions out. They weren't
Numbered them.
necessarily numbers that I pulled, but they were very similar themes, I would say, to
Okay.
Well, and there
to-
may be some of those that you could even combine.
combine.
So,
I would say similar themes to 1, which has been mentioned a couple of times, and 3, which has been mentioned a couple of times, would have been
Okay.
the questions that I had marked next to. Yes. So what I will do is kind of compile those, look for some commonalities, and then I will just send those to the executive team to just glance over and make sure that all of those have been covered, combined with the list of what was provided tonight. And then we can kind of determine what that split might look like for ahead of time and in person, and then we'll send those on to Dr. Rose.
I found the other one,
Okay.
30.
30? Okay,
Mhm.
got it.
And mine was 16.
16, okay. Okay. Thank you. And if you do have any more thoughts on that, don't email the whole board, but you can send me an email and I will be happy to make additions or alterations to that. Okay, any further discussion that we need to have on board vacancy timeline process, accepting
That will,
applications?
after we approve his resignation, then the ball starts rolling.
Yep, got it.
Should one of our questions be, do you plan on moving in the next year? Sorry, sorry. Too soon?
Will the applications and letters of interest be delivered to us digitally?
I think either digitally, I think.
Or mail, yeah.
I think as long as I meet the timeline, the deadline.
I'll make mine digitally, just a note.
Oh, you mean to the board?
Yes, thank you.
No, I'll probably put them in a Google folder
Okay,
and I'll share.
yeah.
I thought you meant.
No.
Gonna mail them and we'll see them in like 3 weeks.
If someone wants to pen and paper everything, just scan it to me, please. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
This place, then, yeah, and stay organized. So I have access.
Okay,
Do that one.
That'll be
okay,
great.
thank you.
Yes. Will that be shared as they come in or all at once?
I think we'll get them in, we'll slide
Okay.
them into that folder, so.
I think that would be great, just because it would be nice to
That
know
way
that we have
don't
people
bombard
applying.
it At once.
Yeah.
Make Sheila and I will-
Depending on the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully we have several awesome applicants. So we're a really fun group.
Emily makes cookies.
Only on long meeting nights. Okay, then we will go ahead and move on to our action items since we do have a pretty full agenda, but we're making all right time. So our first action item here, I would entertain a motion to request or to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar as presented tonight.
I make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar.
Second.
We'll give that one to Skip. Oh, hold on one second. Yep. You're good. We're
really
excited about the calendar.
Yeah, I really appreciate the teachers giving us their input on it and I appreciate the changes made.
As we talked about, in discussion, I think it was very good, the way they came together with this. And I think it will work very well.
I agree. I think it works well for our staff and for the families of our district. So um, a lot of work went into it and it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, I think school calendar, finding a perfect calendar is kind of a moving target because you can't control where the dates fall on the calendar from year to year, which changes some things. And I also think, every year we're learning and adjusting and adapting and hearing concerns and hearing what's working. And so I think the rationale, we've had the rationale of as many student days as possible and as many full weeks as possible, just because that does create that consistency. But balancing that with not burning our teachers out is very important. So I think that hopefully this will strike that balance there. And I appreciate that feedback from our teachers as well. So anything more on that? All right, Sheila.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passes. All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion to request or to approve, the line of credit with Nebraska Land Bank if needed.
I will request the approval of the line of credit with Nebraska Land Bank if we need it.
Second.
Okay, we'll now open this up for discussion. So Dr. McDonald does have a couple of documents there attached for us. He did speak to this a little bit earlier. Dr. McDonald, is there anything further that you wish to share with the board or explain about this line of credit amounts, all of those things?
Yeah, just if you look at the proposal itself, it's a line of credit, revolving credit to $5 million at 4.5% fixed interest rate. Be $2,150 for the origination fee. If we, as a district, needed to indicate that the credit limit increase, it could be increased within 15 days of request of up to a limit of $10 million. And then if that were to take place, there would be an additional origination fee of $4,000 with that. So other than that, it is basically the same proposal as last year. It's just the origination fee is different as far as the $2,150. I think that's a little less than last year, and then the interest rate. I was trying to think again what that was last year, but it was around 4.7%, and this time it's 4.5%. So other than that, I don't have anything else with the proposal. There is a resolution. I don't know if we need to read that resolution or accept that resolution.
The resolution. The resolution is written that it doesn't, you're going to vote on the line of credit, but the resolution will need to be signed by president and another acting officer, so it does not need to be read.
You lucked out, Cindy.
Are there any questions or is there any discussion for Dr. McDonald?
And how much did we take out last year? Did we have to go up to the second amount?
No, we didn't have to go to the 10 million. Last year, December, it was 1.5 million. And then again, in January, it was 2.5 million.
Okay.
And then I believe everything was paid off in March.
So you're proposing the same numbers potentially for this year based on that initial.
I'm hopeful.
Okay.
It's just all, again, it all comes down to the receipts that I talked about earlier when they come in. If they're, that could change with just from if the state aid isn't twice in December, it's only once, property taxes only once compared to twice, then that changes those receipts and we would just have to vary it from there.
Okay, and this will be provided, I assume, a follow-up with information on what was needed, payback. Those will be followed up, provided to the board.
Yeah.
In future financial.
Right, once we get to the payroll for this month, and then obviously the payables will, once that takes place, we'll know and I'll be sure to inform everybody in regards to what that line of credit was needed at that time, so.
Is there a question over here?
So the origination fee was the 2150 for the 5 million. And then it's another 4,000 on top of that if we have to go to the 10.
If we need it, yes.
So it's 61.5
My,
or 61.50.
my intent is not to do that, but you know,
Right.
there is some flexibility there just in case.
Right, I understand.
Anyone else with anything on that?
When you report, would you let us know how much interest we ended up spending on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be good. We always ask that question too, so better to give you a heads up. Yeah, I think it's just important for us to make mention again, and I know we've discussed this before, but just for those who might be here or listening that haven't come to meetings before, and knowing that this is something that we've discussed pretty heavily and obviously is something that we want to move away from doing long term. But also knowing that it takes steps to get there. So our conversations about building cash reserves and different things like that, obviously go into play, but it's where we are right now and we have to pay our staff, so. Okay, if there's no further discussion then on that, Sheila, can we get roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes and we do not need to read the resolution, correct? Okay. All right. For our next item, I will now entertain a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Lincoln County School District 1 audit.
I move to request approval of the 2024-2025 Lincoln County School District number 1 audit.
Second.
I think Joanne won that one. Okay. Any further discussion on here? Dr. McDonald, do you have anything else you wish to discuss on the audit report?
I don't have anything else to report.
Board, any further questions or comments on this?
Oh, I thought it was very thorough, very thorough.
Okay, Sheila, roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. I would now entertain a motion to approve the resignation of board member Justin Thompson.
That mean he has to come back?
Only if you move back.
I move that we approve the resignation of board member Justin Thompson. We don't have to have the date in that sense.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions here? Not sure what we would discuss, but opening it up.
We've already had quite a bit of discussion. about it.
Okay,
At least how to replace it.
yes.
I don't know why we have to vote on this, because I'm voting no. It's not gonna bring him back. I know, then what happens? Then you have to live on B Street forever.
Okay, Sheila, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Motion passes. Sorry, Angela. Okay, we will now move into, this is kind of separate from our action items so that we do have the ability and we will move into closed session here, but we wanted to make sure we got all of our other business taken care of before we entered into superintendent evaluation, just so that everybody did not have to necessarily sit here and wait on us to come out of closed session. So I will start with just kind of an overview so that people know what took place for the superintendent evaluation. So we did complete our superintendent evaluation in November for our state statute requirements. We utilized the services of NASB and they do have a rubric model evaluation. We did not make any changes to that model, but that is something that'll be up for discussion to make changes in the future. So they sent obviously all of our responses to us as a board, as well as Dr. Rhodes' self-evaluation, and then access to any supporting documents, as well as kind of a summative report for us. And so I did want to make mention that again, this year, and I believe last year and maybe the year before were the same, that the board and Dr. Rhodes had the same when you break out the top 3 strengths and then the top 3 areas for growth. We were in alignment on what those 3 were in each section. So I think that that is always an encouraging thing to see when those things line up. So the top three strengths, there are 6 different sections that the evaluation asks questions and we fill out a rubric in. So the top 3 were budget planning and management, educational leadership, and policy. And then the 3 that we will be looking at for potential areas of growth as we're setting our goals are mission, vision, and goals, community relations, and organizational leadership and culture. Dr. Rhodes and I then met and went through that evaluation. We spent about an hour and a half looking through evaluation, talking through some of the comments, comparing scores from year to year, as well as where the board and Dr. Rhodes were in alignment and maybe where there were some areas that we weren't, and kind of identified what those reasons might be. I think a lot of it is communication, honestly, us maybe not knowing that something had happened. And so not knowing how to indicate that it was done. So, Dr. Rhodes, is there anything that you would add about that meeting or process? Okay. It was a good meeting. I appreciated that. So thank you. So then the board will discuss specific comments as well as numbers of those scores in closed session, because this is, although superintendent evaluation is a process that we do somewhat publicly, it is also a personnel document. So we will discuss tonight some of those specific comments and numbers, as well as start our process for goal setting for this next year with Dr. Rhodes, and we will go from there. So if are there any questions from the board or anything?
I would just like to say publicly that I appreciate the job that Dr. Rhodes has done over the time that he's been with us so far. I really think that a lot of the growth that has come because of his leadership. I know when I've been in buildings, there's a lot of them that mention how much they appreciate the ability to create site plans and to all of the teachers feel vested in the process. And I think that has made a significant difference in our district, because I know in years past, there's been a lot of times when teachers don't feel like they've been involved in the processes, either within their building or within the district as a whole. And so I appreciate that that was something that he brought to our district and really has opened up a lot of conversations. And I think as those conversations have happened, then things have improved for our kids. And I think you can see that in our AQuest results and in other things. I also would say it was interesting that mission, vision, goals was an area for growth, just because we had completed our strategic plan, and I do think that he promotes those really well. And so just I can't say enough how much I appreciate the work that he's done and hopefully will continue to do for us.
I think that was one that we specifically talked about, mission, vision, and goals, because I actually think that was one that the board maybe rated Dr. Rhodes higher than he rated himself in a couple of areas. And he and I spoke about that, and the way that the rubric was phrased, where we are early in that strategic plan, some of the questions were almost kind of skewed to
Yeah,
like, we just started the strategic
the
plan.
wording of that particular standard is more the superintendent working with the board. And so I took that a little different. I certainly don't, it had nothing to do with our focus around it, because I think cabinet members and I think principals and I think teachers would tell you that this district is extremely focused around the mission and the identification of specific results within our strategic plan. And we talk about it weekly, if not daily, in the district, but it's more this group working together as it relates to that mission, vision, and our beliefs and our strategies and those things. So, which is, I've got to do a better job. So
I agree with Joanne. And I was going to go back to the AQuest numbers that we had and the ACT numbers that we've had. The growth that we've had since he has been here really shows true leadership. And the fact, and I go back when we have done committee of a whole meetings in the various schools with their site plans and how involved the teachers are directly involved in those site plans, says quite a bit about that change that happened. And I think it's not only a value to the school, but it's a great value to our students.
I'm going to add just one more thing that I didn't mention. I also think that great leadership is giving your people the autonomy to be able to do the things that they need, that they feel like they need to do, or giving them the freedom to be able to come to you and say, hey, I have this idea, and then talk it, being able to talk it through with you, and you tell them to run with it. I appreciate that you're not necessarily in every single thing. You're in every single thing, but not knee deep in every single thing that happens. So just want to mention that too.
Well, and looking at those test numbers, like our school's in such our district is in such a better place than it was 4 or 5 years ago. And I think that has a lot to do with the leadership. So thank you for what you do there. Like you said, there's always room to grow and things to look at. And I just think open communication is what we need.
And I think to tie to that, so there was a standard where we saw a pretty big jump in improvement from both scores, which would be our educational leadership. And that was kind of a breakdown, like there were questions specifically about curriculum, instruction, assessment within there, which interestingly enough, I felt like that was a better reflection of our strategic plan and the work that you're doing there. And so I think that does speak to that. I think that's been a focus, and we've seen that there. I think really, I know we've discussed superintendent evaluation and what we want that to look like, but going through it again with that kind of in the back of my mind really kind of pointed out some of the flaws maybe in our current model and how we could evaluate better and better align our evaluation to our strategic plan. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And Dr. Rhodes and I had some conversations about, I think that where we're going is really great. I think really the feedback that we maybe saw in the evaluation is how we get there and how we communicate. And that was kind of an overarching theme. And I think all of those things are things that we can set goals around that really support our strategic plan. So, okay. Is there anything more from the board or Dr. Rhodes before we move into closed session?
Well, I would just say this, and I think Emily and I talked a little bit about this. I think it's a little different when a board's evaluating a superintendent and there isn't an infrastructure in place. And so I'm blessed to have a great team. Some of those people are here tonight. You heard a couple, 2 or 3 just tremendous presentations, and so I think that's what, and I think Emily brought that to my attention. Sometimes it's communicating what all of us are doing here that fall under the superintendent, where, if I'm at a Class D school, then, you're doing all of that. You're not just kind of seeing those things through. So, but anything that is on our AQuest results or our annual report is because of the people in the back of the room and our people in the buildings that are leading those buildings, and certainly most importantly of all, our teachers. I think the calendar reflects that. I think our conversation with NPA reflects that. So I think there's a balance with all those different types of things. As I've really tried to take in, particularly the state accountability results. And I think people have heard me say this, we're not where we need to be yet. We're making progress, and there's work to be done, but I think there's a singular focus, and that's around everything we do is to benefit our kids. And so I think you can point to the calendar. I think you certainly can look at PLCs. I think you can look at the development of leadership at the building level and the work we do with them from a professional development standpoint. I think the PD that we bring to our instructional staff and to our classified, our paraprofessionals as well. Site plans certainly are a big part of that. And, you know, when you look at data a little bit, you know, the next component to site plans is we have these very specific goals as they relate to ELA and math at the state level. But now getting smarter about how we use that data with subgroups. So paying attention to the two subgroups in each one of our buildings that are performing the lowest, and making sure that we're identifying best practices to get those kids at a higher proficiency level. So the strategic plan is a big part of that, but that's where our focus is. That's where the calendar focus is. It's what working with our teachers. It's high quality materials. You heard that a couple times tonight. So you can't get where you want to be if you leave one of those on the wayside. You know, you need good curriculum. You need great instructors that use the best strategies that they possibly can. You need high quality materials. You need a calendar that benefits both the teaching and learning that happens across the district. And then you need that collaboration piece. And I think when I think of everything, collaboration is probably the thing that is most heartwarming for me, and most proud is to see the progress this district's made just in terms of collaboration, whether it's at the building level, whether it's at grade level, whether it's our work with principals, or certainly at the district level. So I do think the next step is to take that as a board and with our district administration too, and start to build that collaborative piece, which I think, you know, I think some of that is evident in the evaluation as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say, I appreciate the humility, but I want to just point out that good leaders attract good people too. So.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, we've got great.
Okay, Cindy, you're up.
Okay. I didn't get out of it, Angela. I move pursuant to section 84-1410 of the reissue of the revised statutes of 1992, known as the Nebraska Public Meetings Law, that the board hold a closed session for the purposes of discussion of personnel matters. I further move that this closed session is clearly necessary for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual or individuals. And that strategy sessions with respect to real estate, legislative, and collective bargaining are specifically authorized by the Nebraska Public Meetings Law.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that was the movie.
All right, Sheila, roll call.
Emily Green. Aye. Emily Garrett.
Hi.
Cindy Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We need our computer. Right.
We have some back here. Sure. 105.
I sent you an email, it's not for text, so you have to business. Oh, there's lots of here, because the story today, I need to get anything else, I'm gonna go return my, Don't be afraid, well, then, yeah, man. They already do that.
I think, Dr. McDonald.
We chatted.
Yeah, we're getting there. Making progress, for sure. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Fran.
you can, just call back in session. You don't have to make a
Okay.
motion.
We have moved out of executive session.
There you go.
Yes, at 8:45. We're quick walkers because we made it down here in the same minute. Okay, real quick, just before we move on, I do think that Dr. Rhodes, I was reviewing this document from NASB, and they have listed in here that the board must vote to accept the evaluation summary in open session.
It's not in statute.
Okay, I didn't think that we had to, so okay. We're not going to make a motion. We just came out of executive session. Anything before we move to future board calendar? Okay, moving on. Future board calendar tomorrow morning is, it doesn't say who the board, okay, no.
Justin was slotted.
Oh.
December meeting, so
Okay.
we're just gonna have Dr. McDonald and Brandon.
Okay. Sounds good. Unless you want somebody to come. I will
I've
come.
got Joanne for. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Excellent. All right, our next meeting is the 12th, but we'll be back here for a special meeting on the 8th. And then I believe all of you are registered now for the ESU board member workshop on January 13th. So we will see lots of each other at the beginning of January. All right, if nothing else, I would
I'll make a
entertain a
motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, Sheila, roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Finally.